Console online. HPG connection online. Educational module online. All systems nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Mechs podcast. I am your host, Brent Stewart. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Chandler.
And I'm Derek.
And it's a little different. You will notice no episode number because we have a sneak peek, a surprise preview with our special guest host.
Hi, it's Jason Hanza, and thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we have a little surprise, little special thing that we are spoiling for the community. You have some projects you're working on, and you're giving us a sneak peek on 4 of the machines in said project.
I am. Since you guys specialize on the battle mechs, I thought I'd talk about a little bit about the project and then bring you into the loop on the battle mechs you'll see in the story.
Sounds like a good time.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. NDAs are for chumps.
Look,
We don't believe in them around here.
That's
NDAs
right.
are meant to be broken. If you didn't want someone to say anything, why did you make them sign an NDA?
Exactly. It's just a temptation.
The server is actually hosted in international waters, so we're good.
Yeah.
On a boat. I've been asked by CGL to write a novel, and it should be coming out next year on 1 April on the 2025. And it's a sequel to Far Country, the legendary alien-based novel. So this one is called Farther Country, and I'm super excited to be working on it.
Now, legendary is a word to describe it. I think awesome is another one that could be described more in the traditional definition of it is awe-inspiring what they did in that story arc.
It's quite literally the best story arc Battletech's ever had.
The best story.
It is notorious in a good way, in a very good way, infamous in a good way, one might say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very infamous. The general opinion among the community is that it is a good story, but it's not a very good Battletech story. So, one of the CGL's tasks to me was to bring it back into Battletech, kind of align the universes. So I worked hard to try and create a plot that would do that and, bring the universes into the Ilklan era.
Okay. Well, that was actually one of my questions. What era is it going to be set in? Because, of course, the first novel set with this burgeoning faction, we'll say, was set way back. So there's a lot of time to play with.
Yeah, exactly. And I took advantage of that time, honestly, because the original one was, 3062, I believe. And this one is all the way up to 3151. So essentially 99-ish, 100 years. And taking advantage of that time allowed me to build combined culture and, establish what's going to kind of be the rules for this, faction for lack of a better term for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really kind of had to push it all the way to the modern era in order to make it make any sort of sense at all.
Okay, yeah. Now, I do know there is a very vocal faction of the Battletech community that was really wanting more of the alien race's cultures and wanting to expand it. The little bit that was presented was interesting, and they really wanted to expand it and lamented that they never got a second chance.
Yeah, it's a very, very small percentage of fans, but yes, they are out there. There are dozens of them, so, and this one's for you guys.
Dozens,
he says. So, Jason, question for you. So,
yeah.
Can we expect to see, obviously we haven't gotten into the mechs yet, but can we expect to possibly see them coming into plastic or any level of production? Have you heard anything before we, obviously get into them?
I certainly hope so. I mean, again, I'm on the fiction side. I have no touching onto the game side of the universe. So, but I mean, as a writer, I certainly hope so. I hope there's like complimentary Lance packs that go out. I certainly hope they do a turning points, whatever, So, but yeah, that's unfortunately above my control. I mean, if it was in my power, if I was king of Catalyst for a day, the answer would absolutely be yes. But we'll just...
I'm optimistic because, they commissioned you to make 4 variants or 4 mechs, and that's what's in a Lance pack. So, signaling is signaling.
That is true. So the story, as you may remember, in the end of the first novel, they pack up everybody and they launch the moon they call Far Country. They leave the planet, they head to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I pick up the first couple chapters, about a third of the book, is set right then, where they sit there and they kind of get there. And they find on the other side of the planet, they find an old Potemkin from the Star League era, geosynchronous orbit. So the humans go in and they find out that everybody on board is dead. There's been gunfighting, sword fighting, and it just, they find some captain's logs kind of things. And it turns out there was like some sort of blood-borne plague on board. But, it's been a couple of hundred years since the Star League. All the blood's dried up, so it's safe. But, so everybody's dead, and they've essentially got about 2 regiments worth of mechs just attached to this warship. So they take them down to the planet. They start settling in, start building a culture. And so then that ends really part 1. Part 2 is 100 years later. And, not to crib from Moana, but, I'm just using it as an example of, essentially how the society, they decide that it's time to go home, to send somebody back. And, I'm, kind of cheating here as a writer, but alien brains are different. So the aliens are able to sit there and do the math, because the birds aren't dumb. They're just never gone to school. So the birds can figure out how to do the proper jump coordinates to get them back, through the sliding universe planes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of separate. There's, obviously most of the society is going to stay there on the moon and just keep hanging out and hunting, fishing, doing bird stuff. But most of the humans, there's about 1,000 of them, and about 1,000 of the Teete, they're warriors. They're mech warriors, gunners, they're infantry. They're all packing up on board the Potemkin, and they're jumping back. They're jumping back to the Draconis Combine.
So it's kind of a parallel or inspiration, kind of like with the home clans and the invader clans.
Right, but it's the vibe I'm trying to capture, is because I'm still writing this, obviously. So, and as we discuss, I mean, if you guys come up with great plot points, I'm totally stealing from you. I'll put you in the acknowledgments, of course. But I want more of a homecoming kind of feel. Like, they're not expecting problems, they're ready for them, because the Combine people were Death Troopers, right? They're not going in. Everybody on board, these are the descendants of Death Troopers. They're all,
they're familiar with the military culture.
Right. They are steeped in it. They're steeped in Combine culture. They're samurai. I mean, and they're well trained. All the aliens are taken along are warriors, bred and born. I mean, but the vibe is, we're going home. We're going to introduce our allies to the coordinator. We have done good. We have done good in the coordinator's name. Obviously, they know whoever the coordinator is. All their coordinators are dead. They've named the warship Takashi Kurita, and they're going home. And whoever the new dragon is, they're like, we are back, and we've brought friends. That's their vibe. That's their spirit. That's what they want. And of course, it being BattleTech, that's not going to happen. So
at least not smoothly.
Not smoothly. So they jump in. And as you guys know, I'm pretty sure from Dominions Divided, at the very end of Dominions Divided, the Ghost Bears declare war on the Combine.
Mm-hmm.
So they jump into a Ghost Bear assault. Now, they know who the clans are. The first story was set after the clan invasion. So they know who the clans are. This is the Draconis Combine world. They've got a unit down there screaming for help. So, of course, they're like, all right, game on. We didn't come for a fight, but the fight came to us. So they immediately go. They jump into the middle of it. They come screaming in with a warship, which is like, the Ghost Bears are like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? Yeah. And
where did this come up from? Who are these people? What?
Why is there
exactly.
a Potemkin?
Yeah. A Potemkin, for those who don't remember, has like 25 docking collars. It's massive. It's a troop carrier.
It's absurd.
So yeah, the Ghost, it's not a good brawler, but it's definitely, a big shark in a pool full of barracuda is still a big shark. So yeah, they rescue him. And then there's several chapters of politicking. So, they head to Luthen to meet the coordinator. Yori's, she's excited. She's going to be like, hey, we're going to give you a province. You guys can take over this. Essentially the same deal they gave to the Nova Cats. And so Davian spies are kind of poking around, sitting there saying, so this is what happened to the Nova Cats. They're trying to break this up.
Mm-hmm. Doing the counter politics.
Counter politics. Yeah, they don't like this. So they're like, oh, yeah, they gave you the same deal as the Nova Cats. Yeah, notice how there's no Nova Cats around?
It's a bit of a problem.
The clans find out. They're kind of split on this. The Snow Ravens are not excited about having a warship that used to be a plague ship, anywhere in the sphere. Everyone else is like, split between asking the birds to join the Star League and, kill the freaks. This is, like amusingly, this is all three Falcon factions. This is one thing they agree on is like, okay, but it goes back to the Wars of Reaving, like when they had, this society and stuff. So the Falcons are like, okay, this is just wrong. Let's kill them. They're genetic.
The Jade Falcons are kind of known for culling things. So, it makes sense.
Yeah. So this is abominations of genetics. This is abominations of life, and it's all three factions are like, yeah, these birds need to die. So the final kind of scenes of the story is the Ghost Bears launch an attack on Luthien, the capital of the Draconis Combine, and the combined best and the Tiete mustard soldiery, the TMS, they end up, they hold the planet, but at great cost. And so, I'm kind of leaving it open for another sequel, Farthest Country.
Yeah.
Which hopefully the CGO asked me to write.
I was hoping for a trilogy.
I'm hoping,
Farthest Country.
Yeah, I have to write this so it ends, and then just, sits there and flows into the universe. But I'm really hoping they ask me to write a third one.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would like to see how the, especially that Novacat angle plays out, because that would be kind of interesting to see, hey, by the way, you got another faction here that, we'll let you squat on our lawn, but we may genocide you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's, I'm definitely setting that acorn, into the dirt and, watering it for future use.
Well, also it'll bring some interesting politics to the Draconis Combine, especially because Yori, just knocked out at the end of Dominion's Divided. She essentially has no real political rival anymore in the Combine because her actual rival is now a corpse on New Avalon.
Yep.
He may or may not have gotten a bullet to the brain.
Yeah, I'm trying to play it like, she's making the smart play here. These troops have come home to report back to the dragon. So of course she is absolutely playing up the honor, playing up the true samurais. For her,
the full pageantry.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really hoping, I haven't got to that scene yet, because I'm still typing away. But I'm really hoping, because a lot of the older books, the Stackpole era, the some of the classic books really, they show the throne rooms, they show the pageantry, they show the parades. So I'm really trying to give it a good old school vibe for some of the readers who have been around for the decades.
It's honestly been a while since we've really gotten that, especially in the newer stories. We kind of don't really get that. If we get leadership, it's usually in more private settings or more, I guess, military command center kind of settings.
Right.
I think Nicole Merrick is sort of like that in Hunting Season for the most part, other than when she, addresses Parliament. But I think the rest is generally, it's like private audiences and stuff where it's like it's in an office rather than, sitting on your throne with a giant, logo of the dragon behind you and all the pageantry and, all that cool stuff, which it's always fun to read about.
I'm just as much to blame as anyone, honestly. I really lean into the military sci-fi of BattleTech, and so I love it. I loved it as a kid, and so when I can bring it back, it'd be great.
Well, speaking of the military sci-fi, one thing that you bring into the universe here in a way that hasn't really been capitalized before, but is unique in the bits and pieces you sent over to me before we recorded, is the fact that the modified machines now have duo pilots, both one human and one, I always mispronounce the name of the species. It's it's what?
Teate?
I'm going with
Teate. Yes.
Yeah, Teate, yeah.
What words you say out loud that you've only ever read, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't mispronounce it technically.
Yeah. But the fact that, you have the two pilots together in the one cockpit, and it gives much more, range for the interactions as opposed to, just a mech warrior on the comms with other mech warriors.
Yeah.
Right. I did this for two reasons. Three, I guess. One, these cultures, these birds and these dust troopers have grown up together on Far Country. So they are one. They are a combined culture. So yeah, it felt wrong to split them. So, and two, there's no faction that uses only dual mechs. So And I wanted to try and see how I can make them unique. That was what I really wanted to lead into, is that this culture doesn't separate. So of course they're not, they're going to sit there and rebuild all this Star League salvage into dual pilots, a pilot gunner, so they can be together. And it'll also give them a good different feel on the tabletop. At least I'm hoping, because I mean they're always going to have a +1 initiative. So that sucks if you're facing them.
Yeah, I do have to ask, Jason. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
with that being, the dual pilot concept with it, are we gonna get some like kind of buddy comedy scenes, like in the mechs, just watching some banter between, I guess the bird people, because I'm not even gonna try and pronounce them, and the actual pilots, because honestly, some of that is probably gonna be pretty entertaining to watch.
I mean,
Just
it's a time-honored trope of the pilot listening to whatever is on the radio on the planet they're on, and I could totally see each of them arguing like, no, I want to listen to the country station. No, I want to listen to the synth station.
Yeah.
People are going to think I fed you that line there, Derek. Because yes, the third point I was going to mention is that for fiction purposes and thematically, it's wonderful. I don't know if you guys ever saw the old movie, The Last Starfighter.
Yes.
Classic.
That's that vibe I want in the cockpit. It's like, what are we doing? Where they're constantly arguing, maybe kind of a newbie with a vet. Yes, I 100% want to show that buddy comedy. That so yes.
Actually,
that was a long answer.
That was legitimately where my thought went. Is actually The Last Starfighter with that.
Well,
I think I watched some scenes from it not too long ago on YouTube, and I was like, as soon as you'd mentioned that to us before the episode or before we started recording, I was like, wait a minute. Do we get some Last Starfighter like scenes? Because that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. It's why would you not as a writer? So it's kind of a perfect. When people say perfect storm, they usually mean bad, but in this case, all the ingredients mesh perfectly. I guess it's more of like taking raw ingredients and building a cake,
like a culinary fusion, we will say.
Right. Peanut butter and chocolate shouldn't work, but it does.
I mean, when presented with the opportunity, obviously you need to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, exactly.
So now the third thing, because you've mentioned the first two.
Oh, that was the third thing. So the first two it's one culture, so I wanted to really show that. The second thing was I wanted to give them a unique vibe on the tabletop. So when people are sitting there playing these mechs and these variants and them as a faction, they feel different. That was important to me. And then the third thing is the fiction / thematic writing. That's why I really went with all these double cockpits.
Mm.
Nice. I also heard that you got Bushido to come up with the paint schemes. I'm really looking forward to seeing those.
Yeah. Once we get into the mechs, discussing specifically one particular class of mechs, I'm really excited. I think people, because there's a huge fan group, there's a huge part of the fan base that really, that's what they love, is actually just painting. They'll read the lore a little bit, maybe they'll dabble into the tabletop, but they love to paint. And I really hope that they sit there, and once this novel comes out and the Camel Specs guys do their thing, they sit there and say, oh my gosh, I can't wait to put these on the table.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who doesn't love a good painted mini?
I mean, who doesn't love a good battalion of painted minis?
A few regiments, maybe?
I'm terrible at painting. I was saying I'm terrible at painting, but God, I can appreciate it. There's a couple guys in our local gaming group that are amazing. It's just, how did you do that?
Well, you said talking about the mechs, and that seems like a good way to segue over. We have 4 models to talk about. The first one being a 100-ton assault mech, the Great Great Auk.
Yes, Great Auk, an extinct bird. So all these, going with the themes, these are all birds from Australia and New Zealand. So I think the Great Auk's from Australia. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's dead, so who cares? So this one is their name of the king crab. It's a variant of the king. It's the stock king crab, the 000, but with a T, 000T. Yeah. And this one replaces the 15-shot LRM launcher with a 5-rack, the command couch, and they put on deep bins, just kind of to fill it out. And but as it turns out, in the Ill-Clan era, because it was just like, okay, we got some space, we'll just put some extra ammo racks in here. With alternate munitions on the battlefield, this turns into an actually really useful, battle mech for the faction. And they have one. So I don't even really want to call this a variant, but this is like a unique name mech. They have 010-T. As you may remember, the 10 has twin PPCs, twin LBXs, and it has a unique venting system out the back.
Yes.
It's thematically a very cool mech.
It is indeed.
And so for this one, they dropped the autocannons to put in large lasers because, they, like I said, the aliens, because of their eyesight, they have an innate weapon specialist for energy weapons. So they get a +1 initiative essentially and a -1 to hit. So this unique 010 for like the commander has drops the autocannons for large lasers, and so it is it's a killer. So that's their assault mech of the faction. And that being said, I'm hoping that there will be a couple more mechs released. I mean, heck, maybe they'll even release an XTRO. Who knows? So there will probably be a couple other mechs, but these are the 4 I'm really focusing on in the fiction.
The ones you're starting with.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I cannot imagine there's not going to be a Marauder variant. So
that makes sense. Now,
I mean,
I do want to point out to all of our listeners, while it is based off of the King Crab, it is a different machine. While it's still 100 tons, there is a significant rebuild, so it would and will probably need its own model.
Definitely.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
definitely having seen the art that was done up by the CGL art team that you
Yes,
provided to us. It looks
unfortunately,
very
we cannot show it.
Yeah,
so,
we- We unfortunately cannot show it,
Yeah.
but we can talk about it.
it's true.
And
exactly.
it definitely looks very bird-like. Like they definitely redesigned it.
You wouldn't.
to make
You
it
would
more...
be forgiven for mistaking it as a Jade Falcon mech because it.
So many feathers.
While they don't have the partial wing perks, you could definitely see, especially the emu, which we'll come to a little later. I could buy that it would have that perk.
Yep, and who knows down the line, because I mean, if these really catch on, if players really love them, there's always the mixed tech variants that could be, introduced, in 3156 or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean the Combine has a lot of clan production capacity, so
Yeah, I wonder where they got it from.
Just feed them. Just feed the new provincials some of that lovely tech that they got from the old provincials.
Yeah, just paint over these Novacat insignias and just put your own there.
Yeah, ignore the radiation.
Yeah, the old tenant that we kicked out. Now you're the new tenant. Best
exactly.
of luck.
So the next one you have is.
Okay, so this is the Cassowary, and this is their main mech. This is the one they ended up with the most of. This is the one that they identify with. So, and the Cassowary is a catapult. So this is their favorite mech. They paint them up, they decorate them, they'll like drape them with large cloths to make it look like they're flapping in the wind. I mean, every pilot loves this mech. This is their mech. And they have 2 variants, the K1 and the K2, because of obviously the Dakota's Combine wanted, they wanted to definitely have their own feel in there, and especially with the energy specialty. So the K1 is, and all of these are really simple variants that, they were able to accomplish with just what they had in the dropships and, the warships repair base. The KT1 swaps in double heat sinks and for the command couch and increases the armor to essentially maximum. So this turns into just a brawler. I mean, if 2 LRM-15s and 4 medium lasers is still that's a hurt even in this day and age. And the K2 does the same thing for the stock K2, which with the PPCs. It just dropping in the double heat sinks buys them that command count tonnage and a little bit of armor. And and with them being good snipers with the energy weapons, it's just you don't want to face either of these cassowaries on the battlefield. I mean, you're either facing four medium lasers with a -1 or twin PPCs. So
I mean,
pick your poison.
Jason, I'm already thinking that if you had these guys and you put pulses on there with like a T-comp, you're at a -4 with these guys.
Yeah.
It's just brutal, especially if we start getting clan variants of these. You could make some really, really nasty variants.
Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to give this faction a different feel. And so, when they take the field, because there's not going to be many of them, this is almost like Clan of Clan,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want even clan warriors to say, oh my God, it's them.
Yeah, just that moment of pause of, things have changed.
Yes.
Yes.
And then
So,
it got worse.
Exactly. Because, also for the story purposes, I mean, you really have to shake up the clans. I mean, you have to punch them in the nose and make, and break it for them to notice. You just sitting there, punch them in the gut. They're just going to sit there and laugh at you like Mike Tyson and they say, my turn.
You got to really mess them up.
One could say the clans are stubborn.
Yes, one could say. So, all right. So that was a heavy variant, the heavy mech of their force. The next one down, as you mentioned, was the Emu. And this one's a pretty quick change of the standard clan crab 020. So it's a 020T. It drops in double heat sinks for the couch and just rolls from there. It's energy, it's got the chicken legs. They are good to go.
Yeah. And hey, I am here for more crab variants.
I mean,
yeah.
But it also cosmetically is very different, like we mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
than your standard crab, which makes it just look even more beautiful.
Yeah. As we know, because we covered it in our crab episode, it has the rear ejection for the command couch, which of course necessitated a more robust rebuild because of how it's all structured, and that's why the arms are put more forward, which of course makes it a little bit more bird-like because it makes it a little less squat and a little more streamlined, and then they add all of the partial wings or feather stylings off of that.
Yeah.
I believe Charles Gideon put it best when he said this is the superior crab variant. This is the ultimate crab.
I about fell out of my chair when I heard him say that. I'd admit that there was something better than the crab.
Yeah, I mean, am I pandering to Jade Falcon and crab enthusiasts? Maybe. But it is a good solid mech, and thematically it works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can sell it to those people, I mean, you're halfway there already. So
It's true. So the last one we have is the Kia.
The Kia, which is it's a very smart parrot down in New Zealand. It's actually like the smartest. It's apparently as bright as a 7-year-old child, which I don't know if that says something about children or the bird. But
See, I thought you were talking about like the coloring on the feathers, which could still work. I've met some 7-year-olds with some very vibrant T-shirts. So
exactly. No, this is apparently an incredibly intelligent bird, and so that's their name for a mongoose variant.
Yeah.
So and this one, these are really rare. This is like kind of like their stock recon mech, but there's not a lot of them. Gotcha. Because it's kind of a mashup between the 67 and the 68. They dropped in a smaller engine, dropping it down to a 711, and they still had to drop a small laser and a medium laser. So it's only got 2 medium lasers, and it's only moving 711. So this is very much just a scout mech to get in, poke around, and get the hell back out. So,
but mechanically, it's okay because with the improved initiative, that balances a little bit of lack of speed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the improved initiative, and then the fact that they get that innate -1 to lasers. I mean, those 2 medium lasers are now hitting at a much higher, higher
absolutely.
chance. Yeah.
And I really hope the readers I've got like one scout team that's like the main scouts of the story, and I think they're going to be fan favorites. I hope. You never know what the fans are actually going to like, but you can hope.
Well, hopefully, whoever gets put into a Kia takes after its namesake and is pretty smart, or they might have some problems.
Yeah, I tend to think that reconnaissance pilots tend to be some of the smarter people in the BattleTech universe, because you don't get to live live long as a dumb recon pilot, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dumb light mechs do not last long.
No.
When a single hit can take you out, a single mistake is very costly.
Exactly. So that's kind of the spirit I wanted to capture, with the naming.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us a sneak peek at these 4 machines and their, variants or modifications. We're not sure exactly how they're going to slot in or be, presented into the canon to be used, but if they're going to get their own TRO full, or if they're going to get little, like ill-clan recognition guide treatment. But we look forward to being able to play with them.
I imagine it'd be more towards the latter, just, kind of a smaller little ill-clan thing.
Oh, makes
sense. Then they can always release another one down the road with variants.
I don't know. It sounds like this is going to turn into a big plot point going forward, and you might end up with a full source book, a full TRO to go along with the source book. I don't know. I've got a good feeling about this.
I think a lot of it depends on the fans. I mean, because, the first book was very hit or miss. So if the fans just absolutely hate this, I mean, and then it'll be a very minor plot point, and they'll just But I'm really hoping people like it. I really hope people like my story, and who knows? I hope you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it definitely would be good to shake up the Inner Sphere a little bit more, and definitely adds to kind of the boring plot of the Draconis Combine currently. Like, they're really just kind of there.
Yeah.
Need a little bit more shaking up, and
that
who
whole
doesn't
border
love-
area between them and the Dominion definitely needs some shaking.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is like throwing a big old splotch of sriracha into the pile.
Yeah.
And then who doesn't love rattling the cage of the clans while they're, at their zenith right now?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, you need to have a challenge, an adversary, or else it's just not interesting. And if we don't have somebody to challenge the clans and the ill clan, it's not going to be interesting.
Yeah. And who better to do it than the TOT?
Exactly. I mean, and then because obviously half the clans want them to join the Star League because if they can, because right now it's just the Wolf Clan, the Smoke Jaguars, the Jade Falcons, but if they can get an alien race to join, then that's something that even the first and second Star Leagues didn't do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where Alric's going from.
Which I know, Ian Cameron.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Is there any little last tidbit you wanted to tease our listenership with before we sign off?
No. I think anything I tease past this will be I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, I really hope that readers enjoy this. I hope they give it a chance at least. That would be my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like, just give it a chance.
Definitely give it a chance. And when you do get to look at the cover arts, take a really long look at the backgrounds. You might see some interesting things.
You weren't supposed to say anything about that.
I'm sorry. I'm too bad at TP secrets. It's too cool.
I think I missed that. Chandler, you're going to have to show it to me after we're done recording.
Yes,
I think I missed it.
I can do that.
But to be fair, Chandler's not on the NDA, so
Yeah. What are they going to do? Sue me over an NDA I don't have? You have no power here, ZGL.
Come at us, Rem. Come at us. We fear nothing.
We have stayed unaligned for reasons.
Yeah.
But thank you, gentlemen, for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to give a sneak peek at what you're working on and, give the community something to look forward to.
It's always a pleasure to have a friend of the podcast like you, Jason Hansa.
It is.
Yes, Jason Hansa. It is always great to have a friend of the podcast here.
Well, it is great to be a friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast, Jason Hansa.
Friend of the podcast.
Okay, if we keep saying it like that, it's going to start sounding cultish.
Google.
Are you a friend of the podcast?
Are you a friend of the podcast?
The greater good.
Greater good.
All right. Well, with that, class dismissed. Everybody have a great night.
Stay safe out there.
And there are many doors, Ed Boy. There are many doors.
Life has many doors, Ed Boy.
And Jason, sign off.
I don't have a good.
Jason, sign off is look for him on
in the Valhalla Club Discord.
Yeah, on the Valhalla Club Discord, and for his writings in the Shrapnel monthly magazine.
Yep, the Shrapnel magazine, and I should have a novella out called Skulka Foxes, which should be also available on Amazon by the time this comes out, on Amazon and probably print on demand. So I hope that one's featuring the Sea Foxes and Mercenary Unit, and I hope everybody enjoys that too. So you will find me around.
If you find him, you win a prize.
Yes.
The prizes I will respond.
Hey, that's a pretty good prize.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?